Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Line Golf Academy, and thank you for those that did vote on the most recent survey. As you can see, we had a split down the middle, so I just decided to go ahead and do the 3 range drills. And if you see that survey come in, just go ahead and either vote on whatever video you want to see, or sometimes I have an open system where I just say, put what you want to see, and we'll see how many people upvoted. But I think that's very important for our community. I don't want to just make videos because I think they're good for you, but I want you guys to be involved to help me direct what you want to see. And don't forget, we're doing our 1,000 subscriber giveaway where I'm going to give away 10 private lessons. And if you can't come down to me, you're not in the Southern California area, I will go ahead and purchase a lesson from a PGA professional near you. And lastly, somewhere in this video, I'm going to tell you a story of how I met Arnold Schwarzenegger on the driving range to help him with his motions. And that was the day I realized that the golf swing was so independent to your body. Today we're going to do the 3 drills. So the 3 drills I chose is basically ones that we are facing with. Doesn't matter if you're a tour quality player or a brand new player. It's about being centered, about checking your ball position, checking your posture alignment, and then also weight distribution and being more athletic. So you'll see me here kind of warming up. Keep in mind, I do have a lower back kind of issue. You can see my gut hanging out. It's not a good look, but you know what? We'll take it anyways. But I'm finding that I'm not hitting the ball very well. I feel like my hands are getting too much involved. So this brings us to our first drill, is making sure our ball position's good. And we do this a couple ways. I personally like to do it based on how I hit the ball and making the adjustments from there. So if I feel like my hands are very rattly at impact, or I feel like I don't have a full follow through, what I try and do is I exaggerate the ball position. So the first time I'm going to put this on my left foot and try and reach out for that golf ball, but not with my hands. I'm trying to get more weighting on the left side. I'm trying to finish on my left side, and I'm getting that feeling of what it's like to move my body more like an athlete. Now you'll start to see I move that golf ball back on my right side, and this is a good indication to see, can I hit that golf ball and what will it feel like to do that? So you can see I have to fall back to make sure I make contact with that, but it can be done, which is why this is very important to realize. If you're not paying attention to your ball position, it's going to be a tough time, but some people can get away with it and hit the golf ball. But can I do that every single day? I don't think so. That good looking guy on the left put his ball position on his back foot and he has to stay back and flip. The other good looking guy on the right has his golf ball on his left foot and he can turn his whole body through. So I've got to start watching my own videos, but I keep my feet now together and keep that golf ball in the center. And why do I keep it in the center? Well, that just helps me stay centered and focus on my rotation, which is something I suffer from. So by staying in the middle, I have to rotate. I have to keep my hands more in front of my body. And I think this is one of the best drills that you can do to work on your tempo, to work on your weight distribution, because you have to stay centered, and by staying more centered, you have to rotate more. So if you have some mobility issues, you have a few options. You can try this drill that I'm trying. You can keep your feet together, which forces you to turn more. But if you physically can't turn more, you might have to start to sway a little bit to get that motion of the weight drive from that first drill. But either way, we want a healthy balance of rotation and weight distribution, but obviously that's all dependent on your body type. So drill number 2, you can see I'm putting the golf ball right behind the ball I'm hitting. And this is important because I'm trying to move that golf ball on my plane. So for me, it's going to feel like it's going to go slightly behind and towards my right foot. The first time I do this more with my hands and arms, and I lose that golf ball right, and I still feel that disconnect motion. Now keep in mind, this is after I've changed my ball position to be more towards my lead foot to help him rotate and get that weight distribution over. So I'm going to try it again, and this time I'm going to focus on my chest and my left shoulder, making that golf ball move. And why that is important is because now my core is taking that first indication of a bat swing instead of my hands getting too fast and pulling that club head back. So as long as my left shoulder pulls that ball back, I make better contact, I'm able to stay in better balance, and this will help me with my hand-eye coordination. A change-up of this drill is now talking about playing issues as well. So if you don't like that first one, this one's good too. You just take another golf ball and you put it slightly below and slightly right. And what this works for me is it allows my shoulders now to control that downswing. Sometimes I lose my posture and I get very flippy at impact, which I will make contact with that lower golf ball, where now my path and plane has to make sure that that club is going to go around that ball behind me. Now for those that suffer from the outside in, just go ahead and move that golf ball on the other side and still focus on not making contact. So it really depends on what is your issue, but these are all great drills because it doesn't cost you a penny. You don't have to go to Amazon and wait 2 days. You can just go to the range and use what's around you to make more sense. Now if you want a little more of a challenge, you can take another golf ball and put it directly above the one you're hitting. The closer that golf ball gets, the harder it becomes. Now you don't want to be so close where you start toe shanking the one on top of it and hitting the guy next to you. But this is a good one because it allows you to narrow that path as much as you wish. You can see this is about as close as you can get. My toe of the golf club is almost touching that top golf ball, but this really forces me to come on inside, and as a result, you can see I kind of pulled that golf ball because I overcorrected. So here's that story that I promised you, and this is the day that I recognize that everybody is so uniquely different that there is no one-all fix for the golf swing. There is no magic pill. We are all so independent, and we have to look at every case independently, and if we don't, we're not going to succeed. So it was a story when I first got into the golf business, and I was working at a prominent golf club, and my hero walked in the pro shop as Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was a member of the country club that I was working at, and it was about closing time, and I saw him go down to the range. And growing up in South Africa, this man was my boyhood hero. He was the monster. Everybody wanted to be him, and I wanted to be like him. And I thought, this will probably never happen to me again in my life. So I followed him down to the range, and I didn't bother him. I stood on the one side and he was on the other side. It was just him and I hitting golf balls. It was magical for me. And he could not hit a golf ball to save his life. He had a big cigar in his mouth, and he was getting visually and verbally frustrated. I could see he was about ready to snap the club in two, and some words came out of his mouth that I'm sure you've heard on some of his movies, but I cannot repeat here because I don't want to get struck by YouTube. But eventually, I mustered enough courage to go up to Mr. Schwarzenegger. I said, "Excuse me, sir, I see you struggling with this. Can I try and help you with something?" And being a bigger man, he didn't have much rotation, and he was trying to turn too much, where he was losing his posture. He couldn't hit the golf ball. So I put a golf ball down, and I explained to him, you need to strike down on the golf ball, but the reason you cannot is because your whole body's coming up because you're trying to turn too much, and I think you need to use your strength a little bit better. So I closed his whole body up, I closed his shoulders up, I closed his hips up. We felt like we were taking that club way inside, but I told him, don't turn. Just use your arms and hands. And for him, he felt like he was only swinging with his hands and arms, but in reality, he was still turning because of the starting point that we put him in. And as a result, he started to actually make contact with the ground and the ball, and his golf ball started flying in the air, and he gave me the biggest smile and a big high five, and to me, that made my day. And as I walked away, he said, "Hey kid," and if I do an accent, it'll probably sound more like Kermit the Frog, but he said, "Hey kid, you are now an honorary Austrian." And to me, that meant the world. So just be careful when you fall down these YouTube rabbit holes. I know that education's great, but just be careful what you apply to your swing, because most of the time, a majority of the stuff that you see does not work for you. You have to work with the PGA Pro. So let's go back to the video. So it's coming to the end of your range session. I think you need to try a challenge. And I challenge all of you to try this, but make sure you have good quality clubs. And if you do snap your club, don't send the invoice to me. Do this at your own risk. But this is a drill that I like to do, and it really encompasses what we're working on, which is staying centered, staying in balance, not losing your posture, and staying on plane. Now, if you do all those other drills that we worked on earlier, this becomes a little bit easier, but you're trying to hit two golf balls at the same time. And if you do hit them both, they should go off in the same direction. One should be a little bit higher than the other. You should not feel like there's a major miss. And if you do it correctly, that means you are working on staying centered, getting athletic, and finding your balance points. And everyone's balance point is different. I hope that helps you guys. And don't forget, if you're not subscribed, subscribe, because we're doing that 1,000 sub giveaway where it's free lessons for all. And don't forget, look out for the next survey and vote, because this is your stuff you're voting on. I want to make videos you like to see. Have a good day, everybody. Fairways and greens.